Every single day we encounter countless moments that test our patience, challenge our calm, and sometimes throw us off balance. Whether it's a traffic jam when you're running late for an important meeting, a coworker's incessant habits that rub you the wrong way, or the frustrating experience of your phone battery dying during a critical call, life seems full of these daily battles. And while these moments may seem small on the surface, they can have a profound impact on our overall mood and sense of well-being. But here's the thing. It's not the events themselves that shape our days or our lives, but how we choose to respond to them. This is where the ancient philosophy of Stoicism steps in. Today we're going to take a deep dive into Stoicism, a powerful philosophy that equips us not just to endure life's frustrations, but to transform them into opportunities for personal growth, inner strength, and true peace. Stoicism isn't just about surviving the chaos of daily life. It's about thriving in it. By embracing Stoic principles, we can begin to shift our mindset, turning obstacles into opportunities and frustrations into moments of self-reflection. This philosophy has stood the test of time, influencing some of the greatest minds throughout history, and by the end of this video, you'll see why. Not only will you gain a deeper understanding of Stoicism, but you'll also walk away with practical strategies that you can start applying right now to live a more resilient and fulfilling life. So let's embark on this journey together. We'll explore how the calm, rational logic of Stoicism can help us master our reactions, cultivate inner serenity, and lead to profound personal transformation. Before we dive in, if you find value in what we're discussing today and want to continue this journey of learning and growth, please do me a small but impactful favor. Hit that subscribe button and stick around for the entire video to catch all the transformative insights we're about to explore. Now, let's get started. Lesson number 1, recognizing anger as a natural human emotion. It's crucial to understand that anger is a normal part of being human. Everyone feels it from time to time. However, Stoicism teaches us something truly profound. While we may not always be able to control what happens to us, we can absolutely control how we respond to it. This simple yet powerful idea is key to transforming our relationship with anger. When something goes wrong, or someone annoys us, our first instinct is often to react with frustration or rage. But what if, instead of acting on impulse, we took a step back and paused for a moment of reflection? Stoicism encourages us to view these moments as opportunities to practice virtues like patience, understanding, and resilience. By acknowledging anger as a natural emotion, we create the space to learn how to handle it more effectively. Ancient Stoics, such as Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, emphasized not being swayed by external events but focusing on our internal reactions to them. They believed that our emotions, including anger, are triggered by our judgments about events, not the events themselves. This understanding opens up a powerful new perspective. Each time we feel anger rising within us, we can ask ourselves, what judgment am I making about this situation? Is there another way to view it? This shift in thinking allows us to see anger not as something to suppress or deny, but as an emotion we can learn to understand and ultimately control. For instance, if you're cut off in traffic and feel that familiar surge of anger, take a moment to reflect. Is it truly the other driver's action that's making me angry? Or is it my belief that my journey should be uninterrupted and smooth? This reflection offers you the chance to change your response. Similarly, acknowledging your anger can lead to greater empathy for others who may also be struggling with their emotions. This shared understanding deepens our connections and improves our interactions with others. Ultimately, it's about cultivating compassion for both ourselves and others as we navigate the complexities of human emotion. Lesson number 2, focus on what you can control. This principle lies at the very heart of Stoic philosophy, and once you internalize it, the freedom it brings is extraordinary. So much of our stress, anger, and frustration comes from things that are simply out of our control. The Stoics recognized this and urged us to concentrate our energy on the things we can influence, our thoughts, our decisions, and our actions, while letting go of the rest. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most renowned philosophers, constantly reminded himself that we have power only over our own responses, not over external events or other people's actions. Once we grasp this, life becomes far less stressful. When we focus our attention and effort on controlling our own behavior and attitudes, we reclaim a tremendous amount of personal power. Let's make this practical. Say you're working on a team project and one member isn't pulling their weight. It's easy to get frustrated or angry at the situation. But what can you actually control here? You can't force your teammate to contribute more, but you can control how you respond. Perhaps you initiate a conversation to clarify expectations, or you reallocate the work within the group. Either way, by focusing on what you can control, you turn a frustrating situation into one where you maintain your composure and find productive solutions. An essential part of this principle is accepting that many things in life are beyond our control. This doesn't mean giving up. It means recognizing that there's no point in wasting emotional energy on things we can't change. Think about being stuck in traffic again. Can you control the traffic? But you can control your reaction. Maybe you use the time to listen to an inspiring podcast or reflect on your day. The power of this mindset shift is immense, and over time you'll find yourself becoming more resilient and less disturbed by life's inevitable ups and downs. Lesson number 3, practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is all about being fully present in the moment, aware of where you are, what you're doing, and how you're feeling, without being overwhelmed by what's happening around you. This aligns beautifully with Stoic teachings, which emphasize self-awareness and maintaining control over our responses to external circumstances. Why practice mindfulness? Because it creates a space between our experiences and our reactions to them. It helps us pause and choose responses that align with our values, rather than being swept away by our emotions. This is especially useful when dealing with anger or frustration. When someone says something upsetting, instead of snapping back in the heat of the moment, mindfulness allows us to step back and observe the emotion without immediately acting on it. This pause is not only calming, but empowering. It gives us control over how we respond. Incorporating mindfulness into daily life doesn't have to be complicated. One simple technique is to focus on your breathing. When you feel stressed or angry, take a few deep, slow breaths. This instantly brings your attention back to the present and helps you regain control over your emotions. Another practical method is mindful observation. Choose an everyday task, like drinking a cup of coffee, and fully engage with the experience. Notice the smell, the warmth of the cup, the taste. This practice trains your brain to be more aware, making it easier to handle more intense situations with focus and calm. Lesson number 4, accept impermanence. Stoicism teaches us that everything in life is in a state of constant change. Nothing lasts forever, and learning to accept this truth can lead to greater peace. When we truly understand that our circumstances, emotions, and even our thoughts are transient, we become less reactive to life's inevitable changes. Instead of resisting, we learn to flow with them. Accepting impermanence helps us appreciate the present moment more fully, knowing that nothing is permanent, neither the good times nor the bad. This mindset reduces our attachment to outcomes and allows us to navigate life's changes with grace. For instance, when something doesn't go as planned, instead of reacting with frustration, remind yourself that this moment too will pass. By embracing change, we not only build resilience, but also find more joy in the present. Lesson number 5, understand your emotions. The Stoics believed that emotions are not random forces but are deeply tied to our judgments about the world. By examining our emotions and the beliefs behind them, we can achieve greater self-mastery. For example, if you feel disrespected when someone interrupts you, take a moment to question the belief that underlies your reaction. This kind of introspection allows us to adjust our beliefs and, as a result, change our emotional responses. The ability to shift your perspective and consciously choose a different emotional response is one of the most profound aspects of Stoicism. When you develop this skill, You empower yourself to act in ways that serve your long-term growth rather than being swept away by momentary feelings. Let's take the example of anxiety, which is so common in modern life. Imagine you're feeling anxious about an upcoming work presentation. Perhaps your heart is racing, your thoughts are scattered, and there's a knot in your stomach. If we examine the root of this anxiety, it often stems from an underlying belief. The belief that in order to be respected by your peers or superiors, you must perform perfectly. The weight of perfection becomes a burden, amplifying every small mistake or misstep into a potential disaster in your mind. But Stoicism invites you to question this belief. Is it really true that you need to be flawless in order to earn respect? More often than not, the people around you, your colleagues, managers, or clients, value things like effort, sincerity, and authenticity much more than an unattainable standard of perfection. In fact, it is your willingness to put yourself out there, to try, and to learn that often earns the respect of others. When you recognize this truth, it can be incredibly liberating. Suddenly, the pressure to be perfect diminishes, and with it, much of the anxiety. You can approach the situation with more calmness and confidence, knowing that your worth is not tied to an idealized performance, but rather to your authentic effort and intention. Now, how can we practically implement this shift in perspective? One powerful tool is journaling, a practice that the Stoics themselves embraced. When you write down what you're feeling, it forces you to articulate those swirling emotions and examine them closely. What is really driving your anxiety or fear? Are you expecting too much of yourself? Is there a past experience that's influencing your current emotional state? Through the process of writing, you can uncover hidden patterns and triggers that might not be immediately obvious when you're simply caught up in your thoughts. This kind of self-reflection is not just helpful in the moment, it builds emotional intelligence over time. The more you journal, the more you begin to understand the nuances of your emotional landscape. You start to notice recurring themes in your worries, frustrations, and fears. This heightened awareness makes you more resilient because you're no longer blindsided by your emotions. Instead, you can anticipate them, manage them, and ultimately transform them into something constructive. You become an active participant in shaping your emotional responses rather than a passive observer of your own inner turmoil. Another way to gain clarity and emotional insight is by discussing your feelings with someone you trust. Whether it's a friend, a family member, or a mentor, talking about what's going on inside you can provide new perspectives that you might not have considered on your own. It's through dialogue that we often come to deeper understandings about ourselves. When we speak our emotions aloud, they take on a new form, and we might even realize that our initial interpretation of a situation was incomplete or flawed. For example, your friend might remind you of past successes you've forgotten about, or point out strengths you didn't recognize in yourself. This external validation and support can be invaluable in helping you reframe a difficult situation. Now, let's address an important misconception. Adopting a Stoic approach to your emotions doesn't mean suppressing them or pretending they don't exist. On the contrary, it means fully engaging with them in a thoughtful, reflective, and proactive way. You don't push your emotions down or ignore them. Instead, you take the time to understand them, what they're trying to tell you, where they're coming from, and then decide how to act based on that understanding. By doing so, you take control of the narrative of your inner life. You're not just reacting impulsively to external events, you're consciously choosing how you want to respond to them. In this way, you begin to shape your experience of the world rather than allowing the world to dictate how you feel. Moving forward, let's talk about Lesson 6 in Stoicism. The value of patience. Stoicism teaches that patience is not merely a passive act of waiting. It's an active virtue that transforms how we experience the inevitable delays and challenges of life. Think about the daily frustrations we encounter, long lines at the grocery store, being stuck in traffic, or waiting for a colleague's reply. Our first instinct in these situations might be irritation, frustration, or even anger. We feel that time is being wasted or that things aren't going according to plan. But here's where Stoicism offers a new way of thinking. Instead of seeing these moments as nuisances, we can reframe them as opportunities to practice virtue. specifically the virtue of patience. Patience, in the Stoic sense, isn't just about enduring hardship with gritted teeth. It's about maintaining your composure, dignity, and inner calm while you wait. It's about recognizing that many of the things that cause us impatience are simply beyond our control. And if we cannot control them, then what purpose does it serve to get upset about them? Stoicism teaches that every delay, every obstacle is a chance to exercise patience and to reinforce our ability to remain calm and collected in the face of life's inevitable disruptions. So how can we practically develop this kind of patience? One effective approach is to adjust our expectations. Often, impatience arises because there's a mismatch between what we expect and what reality delivers. We expect things to move quickly and smoothly, and when they don't, we become frustrated. But if we start by acknowledging that life is full of delays, obstacles, and inconveniences, we're less likely to be upset when they occur. This doesn't mean we lower our standards or stop striving for efficiency. It simply means we align our expectations with the reality that the world won't always operate according to our preferences. Another method is to use moments of waiting as opportunities for growth or reflection. Let's say you're stuck in traffic. Instead of fuming over the delay, you could turn it into valuable time. You could listen to an audiobook or podcast, practice deep breathing, or reflect on your day. This shift in perspective transforms what would otherwise be a frustrating experience into something productive or even relaxing. In this way, patience becomes not just an act of endurance, but a means of cultivating inner peace and mindfulness. Mindfulness itself is a powerful tool for developing patience. When you are fully present in the moment, you distance yourself from the feelings of urgency and restlessness that often accompany waiting. Mindfulness helps you cultivate a peaceful state of mind that acts as a buffer against impatience. It reminds you that the present moment is all we truly have, and there's no need to rush through it in pursuit of the next thing. The Stoics also remind us that everything is temporary, including our current frustrations. When you find yourself growing impatient, remember the phrase, "This too shall pass." Whether you're waiting for a delayed flight or dealing with a long recovery from an illness, knowing that the situation is temporary can help you endure it with more grace and composure. Impermanence is a key theme in Stoic philosophy, and understanding that all things, both good and bad, come to an end can be incredibly liberating. Finally, one of the most powerful ways to cultivate patience is by celebrating small victories. Each time you manage to stay calm in a situation that would normally trigger impatience, take a moment to acknowledge and reward yourself. These small acts of patience add up over time, reinforcing the behavior and making it more likely to become a habit. Now let's move on to Lesson 7, the transformative power of forgiveness. Forgiveness, according to Stoicism, is not about condoning the wrongdoings of others or forgetting the harm they may have caused. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional burden of holding on to grudges and resentments. Holding on to anger and hurt can weigh heavily on your mind and spirit, affecting not just your relationship with others, but also your own sense of peace and well-being. Forgiveness requires a high degree of self-awareness and emotional control, qualities that the Stoics held in high regard. It involves recognizing that while your feelings of anger or hurt are valid responses to perceived injustices, those feelings are ultimately within your control. You have the power to decide how long you want to carry them with you. This doesn't mean that forgiveness is easy or immediate. On the contrary, it can be one of the most challenging virtues to practice. Letting go of deep-seated feelings of injustice often requires a deliberate, ongoing effort, but consider the freedom that comes from choosing not to allow someone else's actions to disturb your inner tranquility. This is the essence of Stoic forgiveness. It's about reclaiming your emotional energy and focusing it on more constructive, meaningful pursuits. To begin practicing forgiveness in everyday life, start by recognizing that all humans are fallible, yourself included. We all make mistakes, sometimes out of ignorance, sometimes out of malice. Reflecting on your own shortcomings can help you develop empathy towards others, making it easier to forgive their transgressions. Another Stoic practice is to consider the bigger picture. Often, the things we hold on to, the slights, the insults, the disappointments, are not as significant in the grand scheme of our lives as we make them out to be. By focusing on your long-term well-being, which is bolstered by peace and harmony, the immediate sting of grievances can begin to fade,